quick.
Okay.
Fairfield County live and local. It's John Kamal from 95.9 The Fox. I am hanging out with the men who created the new album, Remember Me After Death, which is streaming now. It's RMAD. What's going on, dudes?
Hello.
What up?
How are you?
Will Early, Ryan Barry, Isaac Young, and of course the man himself, the titular artist in this band. I love that word, Rob Madore. Dudes, thank you for being here tonight. I want to just say I had a really busy week, so I didn't get a chance to listen to this until like an hour, like about 2 hours ago. I'm uploading this to the system. And I have it just cranked up all the way loud. We lost Rob. That's okay. We're gonna get him back in just a minute. It's 3 times now, counting the pre-show. But I was listening to this album, and I had just turned it up as I was uploading it to our system. And somebody came in, and they were like, "Dude, what are you listening to right now?" One of my coworkers, and I was like, "Dude, this is the craziest ounce jazz that you have ever heard in your entire life. This, what you guys have put together is so cool. I mean, it's so hip, and I can't believe that you make it up on the spot. When was this album recorded?"
But we were just talking about, what was the date? Do we remember? It was February something.
I want to say February 28th.
The last weekend of
I can check my calendar.
It wasn't on a leap day. I know that it was a leap year last year, though, wasn't it? Right?
Last year.
Yeah, it was.
It was the last weekend, I think, of February.
Towards the end for sure.
Yeah, it all blurred.
I mean, especially at this point. So this album was recorded right before we all entered, this wonderful hellscape that we're all enjoying right now. So where was it recorded at? Because it's all recorded live.
Yeah. Rob?
It was recorded at La Boca in Middletown.
Nice.
And it was recorded by Cody Urban. I don't know how it looks right now, so I'm just gonna go with it. So it's
you look good, man.
By Cody Urban. Good. Okay. So he does sound and booking with his fiance at La Boca, and he plays in No Mind with me and Isaac. So he always records us and does an amazing job. And yeah, it's basically, I don't,
Yeah.
What else can I say about that? Yeah.
No, absolutely. Well, I mean, you've been on. I mean, you and Isaac have both been on the show before. You've been here with PX3 with No Mind a couple of times, and this project though, Rob, this is something that I know you've been doing for a couple of years. How did it get started?
It's just like, I met Ryan, I think it was at Snowden, and we were just like, we ended up, he's like, "Hey, you want to hang out with me and Christian from Cabin Fever?" And we just like talked music for like 4 hours and like don't know where time went at all. And then, I wanted to start a band with him, but like I didn't.
Oh man!
2 times.
I'll continue that.
Coming
up on 2 years, it'll be this spring. Like Rob just mentioned, we met at Snowden, and then like a month or two later, he was like, "Hey man, I'm starting to put together like an improv group." And I think he said like the place to try it out would be Pacific Standard Tavern. Our friend Adam Northway gave us the green light for that, and had us start hosting the first 2 nights of that. I think me and Rob did one gig with I think Jake Brownstein from Eggy, Jordan Giangreco, and there might have been somebody else. But Isaac joined on next gig, and we had Isaac for everyone after that. We're like, damn, like this is really cool. Everyone's clicking, it's cooking. And then we had Will a couple of times, and we're like, all right, now it's cooking. So yeah, man, it's been really fun.
So I mean, like we said earlier, it's all improvised. And in earlier interviews that I've done with you guys for PX3, we've talked about this kind of same language but different dialect kind of approach to music. I think, Isaac, to paraphrase what you said. But I mean, Ryan and Will, what's it like to jump in with two guys who play in so many projects together and who know each other personally and musically so well? What's it like to jump in and really just experiment and improvise with these guys?
Will?
All right, I'll go for it. I don't know, man. It's like talking to people at the bar that you've never met before. It's like sometimes you have folks you can just carry a conversation and it's like super smooth. Sometimes you have that super awkward conversation, and I've definitely had those gigs before where you're like, nah. But the improv thing's funny because it's not about, or at least for me anyway, it's the only person I can speak from. It's not about style. Like it's not about jazz or blues or fusion or like ounce or any of that stuff. It's kind of just like your personal inflection, and sometimes people draw different elements out of you. If you play with some really chill cats, it could be really chill. If you play with a group like this, where it's like there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of stuff, it'll pull stuff out of you that maybe you haven't done in a long time. That's how I felt about this. I was like, oh yes,
right.
It's like getting me fired up. Yes, it was just like super comfortable. I've known Isaac for a while, so there was already like that personal relationship and that bit of trust. And we've done like we do random gigs together, dudes. We did,
and it's been forever. I was just thinking, like, it's so funny because I knew John would probably ask this, and like we've known each other now you're like the first person I met when I moved down here, Will. And like, how long ago is that? What year is it? 2021, and I moved down here in 2005. So however long, 17, 16.
Yeah, because when did I meet you? I moved back from when I was in California, and I was all over the state. I was like living near New Haven, teaching in West Hartford.
When we taught in West Hartford, that's when we met. And then we had always joked about we wanted to be in a band together. And we always we're like 1 inch away from it too. A few times we're like, oh, this is going to be great. We'll do like a gig. And then like beach, go down our separate beautiful paths. And we always check in.
I remember the first gig we actually played together was what was that little festival? We played there with Hot Chaos. I think you were doing it with
the one that I ran, Vision and Grit.
Yes, Vision and Grit.
Vision and Grit. Where was that? Oh, that was in Jewett City. So I ran that with a good old friend, David Irwin, and his wife, Claire, own this farm out in Jewett City. And actually, the Balkan brothers live literally a stone's throw from there. It's so funny because they were one
great
of the first
band, great CT band.
Oh yeah, I mean, Nick and Steve and I are great dear friends. They used to live around the corner from me in West Hartford too. But yeah, so that they have this beautiful farm. They opened it up to artists, and they wanted us to put together a music festival. So it kind of was very like roots production, very like low budget. It was just like everyone kind of chipped in, and we had a ton of bands at a point. We had like 30 plus bands from the scene. It was great. Bye, Rob. That was 3.
That's 4, I thought.
Is that 4? Is that 4 for this one? Okay. All right. But continue though.
But yeah, so I mean, that was like one of the shows that Will and I officially played together. I think I sat in with Hot Chaos, right? Is that what I did? Like I must have sat in with you guys. I don't know.
That sounds right. That was a fun festival, man. That was a
lot
cool
of fun. That was a good time. But yeah, so we'd always joked about like being in a band together, and then finally, when we were doing every Tuesday, alternating Tuesday residency at PST, Rob asked if I knew any guitarists. I'm like, oh, do I know the guitarist? I was like, that's when I called Will. I was like, dude, you got to bring him in. But I think actually the first time they heard you was when you came and sat in a Bryac, Will. When you sat with No Mind, Bryac.
Oh yeah,
that would make sense. Being a black rock guy that Will is.
That was like one of my first gigs with No Mind. I was like, yeah, let me start with this band and usher in this ridiculously talented musician to upstage everybody. Like, bam, here you go.
So let me jump in for a second here because Isaac, I think Will, I love that you're on this show now because it feels like you've been on the periphery of this show, much like you guys like being constantly close to starting a band together. Will, you've been a presence on this show for so long because so many people bring up your name. There's so many interviews that I've had where people are just like, oh yeah, well, I mean, Will Early, you want to talk about Connecticut guitar players. This is the guy to talk to. Isaac,
you were going to say owed him money or something.
I mean, listen, maybe that too. I don't know. Maybe they're playing the long game. But Isaac, you've brought up Will, I think, in almost every interview that we've had so far. What is it about? Actually, I'll put it to both of you. What is it about each other as a player that attracts you to each other?
I mean,
I can actually answer that really easily.
Oh, geez.
He's
been saving this one. Oh no.
No, for me, with musicians that I love to play with, and especially in improvisational situations, there's like this element of like trust and also ability to explore and not be nervous. Like there's plenty of great keyboard players out there, but sometimes it can age you in. Like, you know, there'll be situations where I can't get too far out or can't deal with this. And with Isaac, it's never happened. It's like no matter where I go, he hears it before I'm even there, and so it's like a new river or something. It just like finds its own way. So why would I not want that all the time?
Right.
I wish there was an app on my phone called Isaac Young that I could just turn on and play with.
Oh my goodness, man. I'm glad this camera sucks. You can't see how much I'm blushing right now. I mean, and it's so funny you say that because it's similar way about the boundary pushing, Will. It was like, that's the big thing. And like Rob can attest to this because when he and I, like, even though we don't necessarily like practice improvisation together, like the workshop element of like trying to craft this spontaneous composition mindset, right? Is like, there's safety, but then there's this ability to like yank at your boundary level, right? And like, who knows? Like, yeah, sometimes the boundary can break. And like, Ryan, you do this all the time with me because your sense of time is different than the way I do it. Especially because I play left-hand bass all the time. So I'm like, oh man, it's so nice having a real bassist here. Like, right? No, it's like, but with Will's playing, what always was attracted me over these years is the fact like that I can step outside the box. And he's like, oh yeah, we're here now. Like there's a lot of other guitarists, and it's not to slight them, it's just their ears are in different places. Will's is on the same astral plane as mine. And it's like all these three guys, like I listened back to this record. I hadn't listened to it until it came out. And because I didn't really do anything with the mix other than like say, yep, sounds good, right? And I was like, how on earth did we pull that off, right? It's like I don't know how we did that.
That's what I kept thinking.
That's right. I was like, but that's the beauty about it.
That's what I kept thinking as I was listening to it, because it's not even one of those things. Sometimes you'll hear like a really good improvisational piece where it'll start out with one. It'll start out with one musician kind of, setting up a theme, setting up a vibe, and then everybody kind of falls in. You guys jump in on this on numerous occasions. You literally will just kind of, and I'm sure like some of that is editing, like, starting a jam at a certain point.
No, there was no editing in that.
But it's not though, right? But it's not. It's not. Yeah. So my question is, when you're playing with all of these guys, how much of it is raw instinct and how much of it is body language and looking at each other and, stuff like that? Basically what I'm asking is how much is it your ears and how much is it your eyes?
I mean, it's mostly my ears. I'm the worst at eye contact.
Oh, I'm so bad at it, dude. I remember that gig because I was on like the front of the stage. It was a weird one. All of a sudden I'm like, what is everybody doing? And I would like look back, and that's probably when you hear me mess up. Because I'm like, oh god.
Definitely,
my head
the ears too.
Yeah,
I mean, everyone in this group is really talented, and you play music and practice music for a certain amount of time, and you know kind of what resolves to what could probably sound well coming next, and everybody else being on that, like Isaac said, like that same kind of plane. It just there's some body language too, but yeah, definitely ear.
That's wild, man. Like, so it's, people talk about musical ESP and stuff like that. Is there a sense of that? What's the connection between just knowledge and coming from the same place musically, just in terms of your influences? And also just the energy in the room, not to get too metaphysical, but also to get a little, metaphysical.
I mean, that was a particularly good night too. Like it was just like one.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously now it's even more romanticized because it was like the last one of 2020, right?
Sure.
Right. But like, I mean, I remember that gig because that was also the same night that the PX3 record was from as well, from Stargazer. That was the set that preceded the RMAD set. It was just one of those nights. I mean, you guys, please chime in. Don't let me steamroll this, but like, there, like it's athletes together. You're in the zone, right? Like, just it all clicked. I don't know, man. The energy in the audience was incredible that night. These guys are the easiest musicians to play with. It's like wearing a bespoke suit. Like you don't have to work for it, man. It's just just six. It's good.
We're going.
We're all really comfortable with each other too. We all push each other to our creative, limits sometimes, but also at the same time while being really comfortable to have the confidence to, you know, go out there or like take that solo but also be restrained when you need to be and just responding to the band, you know.
I think there's a collective sense of surrender too, at least like in my role is like, because I get to play less, right? I get to like because like in a duo setting, right? I'm doing a lot more harmonic and rhythmic stuff, but then when I get finally rhythm players and lead players, I can then compartmentalize and I can like think differently. It's like for me, the big element surrender is just allowing all the other parts and being more reactionary than a bus driver, right? Yeah, like a collective sense of surrender.
Dude, Isaac, you're like a walking musical quotation book. I've quoted you in so many previous podcasts.
I like that.
That's a great album name. So, well, Rob, though, what's the difference between playing with No Mind as opposed to playing with RMAD? Do you do anything different, or is it just what the guys paint on top of you that's different?
It's a little bit of both. Like, hopefully I can answer this before it cuts out again.
Sure.
But I don't know. RMAD, I just react to what I'm hearing, and it's like, you know, with No Mind, I know what I'm playing, and well, you know, we improvise with No Mind, obviously, but like, there's kind of like it's structured. You know where it go. Eventually, and with RMAD, it's continuous. It's all like reactionary, and I'm driving the bus per se, you know, because I'm the drummer, but everyone adds their own thing to the top, so they are painting their own picture on top of what I'm doing as a bass line, you know. So yeah, it's just like with this band, it's all impulse and reaction and trust and you know, it was always an interest. When we started this, we didn't have like a core band. It was just me and Ryan, and you know, now that we have a core band, you know, it's like feel like we can go like
that's too bad, because I was enjoying that. 7.
That was a good one too.
No, that was, well, I mean, and Isaac, I guess, you know, to piggyback off of what Rob was talking about, what about the difference between PX3, playing with PX3, and playing with RMAD? Obviously, for you don't have to use your left hand as much, which has to be
right.
nice.
But I also like the fact that I can be
Rob, we're keeping it going with what you started, because I love what you were talking about, so I just threw it over to Isaac real quick. But sorry, Isaac, continue.
Yeah, no problem.
That's cool.
So, I mean, the role is not really different, like from my mindset. It's still that same essence of like just I've talked about it when you've asked me before. Like, I always treat improvisation like a mandala, right? So it's like you have these intricate little fine details that are going to create this absolute beautiful thing for the moment, but then the second it's created, you wipe it away and it's gone. There's the semi-permanence of it. And like my mindset is always like that with improvisation, is for that final structure, then it's like gone. You capture that moment. But the role that I get to do with the quartet versus the duo, there's so much more freedom, because I don't have to always be on top of every element of harmony, right? I can stop, right? There are moments when if you listen carefully, I just don't play.
And you can play sax too.
And I can play saxophone.
And you play saxophone,
dude.
right?
That's what I got my degree in. And so it's so tough to play saxophone with just a drummer. I know people are like, well, you know, Sun Ra did it, and like Coltrane did it with Sunship and everything. Yeah, but it's just like, no one wants to hear that right now. Right. But like, I get to play saxophone. That's the other cool thing, right? Because Ryan, I model half my left-hand basses off your bass lines. Like, I'm serious, dude. I transcribed the crap out of your bass lines on the recordings, because like we all have other recordings from like other gigs that, right? Like we did a few of them from before, and like I just transcribed your lines on my left hand. I'm like, oh shit, that's a cool line, right? But for me, like, it affords me the freedom to not have to do that, right? It's great. I don't know, like having Will take a solo is so nice that I don't have to, like, I just get to support. Like, being an accompanist is such a beautiful role of a pianist that I don't get to do that often. Or I just get to like be in the background.
Right. Well, I mean, it's so surprising that you say it's freeing, because if like, I mean, I don't play piano, I play guitar, so it's, you know, there's no way that I'm serving multiple roles at the same time. But I would have thought that for you it'd be a little more constricting, because you have to think of other people and what other people are going.
It's sound the most backwards thing, but there's far more freedom and constriction because you have to now think within parameters. So now you can be more creative, because instead of just a complete blank slate where you have every single color in front of you and the world's largest canvas, you now have an 8x8 canvas with a set amount of colors. You can create the same masterpiece, but you're going to be more focused with your intention when you have your restraints. Right? So when you have that, I mean, for that, when you have that,
they're gems, and if you think I'm not writing them down, you're crazy.
It's great, man. We'll make a book out of this.
We should make a book.
I don't know, like that's why I love playing with Will and Ryan and Rob. I mean, obviously, I like sing Rob's praises. Rob is like my other half of my musical body. But like getting to play with these two players, it's just like there's so much elevation to what can be done that it's a different mental experience, but it's the same parallel experience. I'm still thinking the same way, but I am differentiating where I'm painting harmonic structure, melodic structure, or the absence of it. And that's really the thing. It's like I can be more absent in terms an element of that, which is really quite cool.
Do you ever reach a point where do you ever reach a point in the jam where you start to feel safe, or you start to feel comfortable, or is there a little bit of a sense of unease throughout the entire thing?
I don't know if I ever feel that unease. I mean, there's parts where you're like, oh my God, what is going on? But for the most part, it's more of just like, or at least the way that it feels to me internally is like, as you find the space, you're kind of so preoccupied listening and attempting to fit in and being unoffensive. It's very PC of me. But you're just so occupied kind of doing it that I don't know if it gives you a lot of time to really feel that, unless you pull yourself out of it. Like if you look at a crowd member, or you're like, did I just step on something? Did I unplug my guitar? That'll pull you out of it. And then you're like, that's fear is real.
Yeah, dude. The stepping on your own cable is something that I've done so many times. Rob, while we've got you, talk to me about your naming process, because you've touched on this in previous interviews before, but it's a new band. It's a new, you know, and it's one modeled after, you know, or at least started by you. Talk me through your naming process. So the album title, of course, Remember Me After Death, which, you know, that one kind of makes sense, but the names of these songs are fantastic. Talk me through your naming process.
Well, like, you know, first thing I wanted to call this album was, I can't even say the title on the air right now.
We're not on the air. We're on the internet.
So
it's okay.
That was a problem. So, like, you know, the names of the songs are totally random. Like, I watched Trailer Park Boys, like, I was like watching that, but the anagram that all the songs spell, it spells out Donald Trump sucks dick. And I thought about calling the album that, but it goes like, nah, I don't want to get political or anything. So, like, you know, I just kind of, now that's this is like, you know, the second time I've ever said that, but.
Oh, right when you're getting to the good part.
I'll never forget when he came up with that idea, man. He texted me late, and he was like, dude, can I get away with this? I was like, yes, you can. It's like, why not?
We'll see if I get away with it. But right. Well, so what about the names of these? What about the names of these songs? Because there's some, like, all right, like People Stuck. Let's start in a dark place. Where did that name come from?
You know, people just suck. Like, look at the pandemic right now. Everyone's treating everybody like shit. And so, you know, it's just like, people suck. Oh, that's the P for, like, you know, Trump's last name, the P in his last name. Yeah. So, you know, it's just like, random thoughts like that, and then like, was it Unch Jam 1,600,000,000,000 or whatever? I was just like, it's not even an unstyled song, so I was just like, yeah, I'll roll with it. It's just like, I don't know, I just want to do unorthodox stuff, and like my music, like I was telling Cody this, and he's like, you captured your personality and your music, and it's just like, I'm just trolling the people, like I'm just trolling people, like, I soiled myself at the Krusty Krab, like that's just like, what kind of song is that? And it's like the most obscure dark drum solo like I've probably ever played. So like, I don't know, like there's no,
I was so excited to listen to that song when I saw the title too.
That it's just like the music I make.
Right. Nice. Nice.
What do you think of it? Like,
I do it.
What you expected, probably.
Oh, who, me or one of the other guys? Uh-oh.
You.
Well, oh, me, myself. So, yeah. So, I mean, I said at the beginning of this that I described it to a coworker as like some seriously heady ounce jazz. But I happen to be listening to the song Ounce Jam 1,900,633,914 at the time. And yes, I did commit it to memory.
That's how big the number is? Oh, I didn't even know it was that big.
I might have been wrong. I might have been wrong about the millions. But yeah, it was it was shockingly complex. I mean, everything that you guys, have done, Isaac, you and Rob, has been so complex, but it's just when it's you and Rob, I always can just think to myself like, okay, well, this is just Isaac going somewhere and Rob's driving the bus. But when it's the four of you guys, I mean, just chord voicings, just time signatures, just the amount of fun you guys are able to have in it. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but it is a little, it's frightening how little I know about music when I listen to this album. I'm like, God, I can't do that. That's just wildness. And I don't know what my point was in all of that, but yeah, that's how I felt about it. It was so cool to listen to and so interesting and deep to listen to. And you don't always expect a lot of depth out of an improvised piece. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Well,
that's how I feel when I'm playing. I'm like, am I repeating myself? Am I actually doing this right now?
So what's on the horizon, man? There is a live and local event that we have been talking about that I can't fully go into details on that we're hopefully going to have all of these gentlemen on soon. But what else do you guys have going on personally or together as RMAD?
I wish I was playing more. That's my plan. So I wish I was playing more. Yeah, just working, teaching. If anyone wants music lessons, talk to Will, Ryan, myself. I'm
still teaching, getting ready for the school. I am working on I thought it was going to be out last June. It's going to take forever, but been working on my first solo guitar record, which is
nice.
Taking me 10 years of not completing things, but it's cool. I'm working with a bunch of old school friends. Nick DeRico out of New Haven. Alex Swift is playing bass. The bass player from Moss Opus, Sean Kilmartin in Florida, is playing on some tracks. I'm going to have Mike Knobloch from Fat Astronauts going to do some percussion.
Nice. Great band.
Oh, dude, they're so dope. He's actually my roommate.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, right. Music house.
It's a perfect 10 as we wind down. It's a perfect.
Yeah, right. So I'm just gonna, I'm probably working on that. I'm hoping to get it out for June by my birthday, but it might be next fall. I mean, I just got so much work going on that it's I got to take a day off to finish guitar tracks and writing. So
I want to hear it, man.
So do I.
I want to hear it.
I want to hear this too, man.
Send it to me. I'll put it on the air as soon as that thing is done. Please send it to me.
I'll do it.
Yes. Yeah. Ryan, what about you, man?
I actually just started taking on some students for bass lessons. I actually just finished my master's program, and I'll be hopefully a certified teacher really soon. So practicing with
guy.
other bands, the Mushroom Cloud, and I started a bluegrass band too called Mantis.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that's really cool. You know, nice and refreshing. I love the funky jam stuff, but it's just cool. I picked up an upright bass. That's been going really fun. Just learning something completely different from electric bass. But yeah, man, just staying busy. Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. What about you, Rob?
Just teaching, right? I mean, I've been producing this record for this young artist named Maya Dobbs, and she's great young singer-songwriter. Rory Quinn's record, I produced that for him. I'm waiting for that to come out. I heard some of the mixes, and I'm very excited. That one's going to be a cool one. I just don't know when, because we're just eagerly waiting for the mixes and masters to come. Other than that, just trying to stay creative and, you know, be a dad and enjoy some time at home before the touring kicks back up in full swing.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, you know, John, it's nice being at home, right? Yeah,
it is. It's nice. Yeah, the dad life is one of the few parts of life that has improved. That is true, and that's a blessing. That's for sure. And Rob, man, yeah, the silver lining. And Rob, man, what about you? What else you got? What do you got on the horizon, dude?
Well, I can't hear anything you're saying, but
I'm sorry, man.
Basically, me and Isaac have a few things that, it's all good. My connection is awful for some reason, but
it's all good, man. We can hear you.
We have some things that we've been working on that we have to actually record, and so we're doing that, and then my friend Colin has an album that he wrote, and I'm going to play some drums on that.
I was 11. Colin Ward. He was talking about Colin Ward, who was in Rift with him.
Yeah.
Incredible guitarist. And I've heard some of the tracks. That record's can be ridiculous. I'm excited to hear the end result of that when Rob gets to do that one.
Nice.
But he and that's right. We have a few irons in the fire for some fun things, some good collaborations that we have a few people who signed on board already that we're really excited to do. But that's like going to be the next stage of this year as the year starts in earnest with the PX3s. We're going to try to release. We have a few things in mind for a fun, like rolled out releases in the year, which would be cool.
I can't wait to listen to all of the music that you guys have planned, and I can't wait to dig deeper into this album. Seriously, Remember Me After Death by RMAD. It's streaming now. I spelled streaming with 2 R's. That's silly of me. But iTunes, Spotify, any of your streaming services, you can check out Remember Me After Death by RMAD. And if you want to hear it first, you can listen to 95.9 The Fox this Sunday at 9 p.m. We're going to be playing 4 songs off of that album. RMAD, thank you fellas so much for being here tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
Thanks for having us. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. Stick around for a minute after I cut off the live feed, but for people watching at home, yes, tune in this Sunday to 95.9 The Fox. If you don't live in Fairfield County, you can stream it on 959thefox.com. You're going to hear 4 songs in a row from RMAD and an hour of live and local music on The Fox. And thank you for watching. We'll see you then. Did I end it? I didn't end it. What about now?
Stop those live.